the best here. Brett, be affirmative. You told me to get on. Info.
Ready. Ready. Go slow. Green, green, green. Lock it down, lock it down. 14.
I'm destroyed, and I just got drove through like 6 times on the 14. What the f*** is he thinking? That is the stupidest thing I've seen in my career. Literally.
Everything you described is accurate. Haven't even finished the second stage yet. Half the field's wrecked.
Hell yeah.
11 got it.
Rowdy there, Matt. Good job, pal.
Thanks, man. Good job all day.
Great work, my man. Great work. Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
Therefore, great job, guys.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark, and wow, I tell you what, I think I like having the longer practice sessions, and I like having heat races to decide the race order. I think they should do that at all tracks. Just my personal opinion. I think it adds a level of excitement. I think it gives a lot more data on how the cars are running, how they are competitive before going into the race. So I think NASCAR should just screw the regular qualifying that we've been doing and go to heat races and just jumble it up and kind of see. I really liked watching the heat races. I'm sure if you caught them or not, but they were pretty exciting. They kind of really gave a clue onto who's got good running cars in race conditions. And it's just more exciting to watch than one guy going out making a hot lap to see how fast they are. Just my personal opinion, but I definitely liked the longer qualifying sessions that we had Friday and then the heat races yesterday. It also showed how the track was going to potentially wear, and then if you watched the truck race last night, you definitely saw how the track is going to get... it's still going to hold moisture because it doesn't have the sun beating down on it, but it's going to get a little drier, make it a little bit slicker. I really enjoyed watching the truck race last night. Very competitive up towards the front, but it did appear the faster cars definitely all made it to the top. You had a couple of guys fall out towards the end that were running extremely well, but either way, very exciting. I can't wait for tonight's race. Hit me up if you are joining the stream and have any comments, thoughts, or anything like that. But let's kind of dive into what we're looking at for tonight's Food City Dirt Race at Bristol Motor Speedway. It is a short, high-banked, now dirt track. The track length is 5.33 miles. It's 16 degrees at the bottom of the banking, all the way up to a progressive 19 degrees at the top of the banking. And it seems to be the top side is the fastest way, but it really depends on the wear and the moisture content and where they're finding speed. And these dirt racers that do it quite often find the faster laps, whether they're at the bottom or the top. They're able to just kind of read and judge which lane is faster. And this track probably has 4 different lanes, maybe 5. And the lanes kind of overlap each other. So it's going to be fun to watch. The guys that are fast are going to stay up front unless they have an accident. And the guys that are slow are definitely going to be towards the back. And we saw that during practice. We saw that during heat races. We saw guys who had their cars not set up right. So I'm pretty fascinated and excited to watch this race. I was not on Friday, if you happen to catch my video. I was kind of like, oh, here we go again. Let's just get this over with. But after watching what Bristol has put together for this race, I'm much more excited about it now and think that we're going to have more of a dirt race, but I still think it's going to be, if they ever want to go to a real dirt race, they're going to have to come up with a different type of car. I do agree with most of the dirt racers that that's going to be the case, but either way, I'm pretty excited for what we've got coming up tonight. So after everything's said and done, what I've done is kind of revamped... Oh, why is my little thingy not showing up? I didn't check it. All right, we'll just start with this page. I have up at the top left is their starting position. Over at the top right is where they finished last year. Then you've got their, of course, their name and their price for Draftkings. The heat race that they ran in, heat race 4 for Kyle Larson. He started 6th and worked his way up to 3rd. And then their practice speeds. In the first practice, Kyle Larson was 16th fastest. In the 10-lap average, he was 11th. In practice speeds on 2, he started in place 6th on single lap speed and 3rd on a 10-lap average, which is actually pretty good. And he was able to work his way up in the heat races. And I think if that heat race had gone another 10 laps, Kyle Larson would have found his way up to the front and battled Ty Dillon for that potential spot. So I really like Kyle Larson, even though his price tag is fairly expensive. I think there's some real value that we can get down. I think place differentials will play a part, but I think we're potentially looking at least 2, if not a 3rd dominator. That 3rd dominator may end up being somebody who kind of starts in the top 10 and finishes in the top 10, or maybe even starting in the top 5, finishing the top 5. I expect maybe Kyle Larson to be one of our dominators if he can find his way to the front. I'm not sure he relinquishes it. But Christopher Bell, I think the next in line, 10,800, could easily start in 2nd, get his way to 1st very quickly, getting past Cole Custer, who has the pole, who I will not have a whole lot of. But Christopher Bell started in 5th and finished in 1st in heat race number 2. His practice speeds were very, very good, especially in the 2nd practice, where he had the 5th fastest single lap time and the 4th 10-lap average time. I really like Christopher Bell. Now, as long as Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson can just not wreck themselves this year, I think we're going to see a great battle between the two of them. Joey Logano, 10,600 in the 3rd heat race. He finished 1st. He finished 2nd. In the truck race last night, I mean, he had a top 10 car, but never had a truck that was going to compete for, the top spot. I mean, Ben Rhodes was just flat out fast for that entire thing. But Joey starting 10th. I mean, I think he could probably finish there. So, maybe that's one of the finishing guys, but I'm not even sure that I think Joey Logano is really the guy that I want to sink my teeth in on. He started 1st in his heat race and he finished 2nd. I mean, his practice speeds were okay. I mean, they were for most of the part top 10 throughout practices. So, I mean, Joey's not a bad pick. I just think, somebody like a Chase Elliott is a better choice. Chase Elliott started 1st in his heat race and finished 2nd. His practice speeds were 16th in the first practice, and then he improved to 6th. And then also in 10-lap averages, he moved from 11th to 3rd. So starting 9th, I think Chase has a little bit of room. I think he can get himself into a top 5. Might be a great person who may not dominate, but could easily have just a really good finish. So I think Chase Elliott is somebody that we need to take a look at. And like I said, there are plenty of value guys out here that I think we can target to get some of these top-priced guys fit in. Now, can we fit a Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, and Chase Elliott? I'm not sure we have that much value that's out there, but I think a mix and match of some of these guys and some of these lower-priced guys is something that we could definitely take a look at. William Byron, 10,000. I mean, I do like William Byron's starting spot for place differentials, but he's riding some momentum from winning 2 races this year already, but I don't think he's going to be the guy that I'm going to target. His practice speeds were okay. I mean, they were, looks like top 15 for the most part. He had okay speed during his Heat 4 race. Now, you got to remember, I mean, Heat 4, he had Kyle Larson, Ty Dillon, so he and Chase Elliott. I mean, he had a pretty tough field to kind of go and compete against in the Heat 4. I think the Heat 4 race was probably the most competitive throughout. But I have William Byron. I don't mind him for his place differentials. I don't think he finishes much better than probably in 8th place. As we keep going down through this line, Chase Briscoe starting 4th. He's been fast all weekend. He did have a little bit of an issue with his gearbox after the race. They were able to take a look, and NASCAR watched over them with a very close eye, and they realized that it was not something that needed to be completely replaced, but he was able to get replaced. Not replaced. He will not have to go to the rear for an unapproved repair. They were able to make the adjustments that they needed, and he was able to keep his starting 4th spot. He was also very quick in single lap averages, at least in the first practice. Second practice slowed up a little bit. I think the track changed on him a little bit more than anything, but his 10 lap averages were solid. And starting 4th, I think Chase Briscoe could easily be one of those finishing position guys that I was talking about. He may even be one of the guys that ends up dominating in this race. So keep an eye on Chase Briscoe. I don't mind his price tag at $9,800 and starting 4th. As long as he gets himself, stays clean and doesn't spin out or anything like that. But even spinning out, I think you do it early enough, you can make your way back up to the front. Martin Truex Jr. at 9,600. I have not seen anything of speed from Martin Truex Jr. all weekend at all. He started 7th in his heat race, finished 8th. His practice speeds were single laps were 23rd and 33rd, 10 lap averages 20th and 30th. Finished 19th last year on the dirt. I even starting 30th with a lot of place differential potential for Martin, I just don't see anything in the way of speed that makes me go, ooh, I want to take some Martin Truex Jr. I mean, just even cheaper, for $400 cheaper, you have Tyler Reddick, and $600 cheaper, you have Kyle Busch, which I think are much, much better on the dirt and showed much better speed. Ryan Blaney, 9,400. He spun in his heat race, and he started 6th and finished 6th. His practice speeds were respectable, pretty much in the teens or better all weekend long. I like his starting spot. I think he's got some pretty good place differential. But am I going to look at him as a dominator? No. Could he be a place differential guy to kind of keep an eye on? Absolutely. So keep an eye on Ryan Blaney. He definitely is somebody that we might particularly want to target for place differentials. A little expensive, but I think there's, like I said, there's some more value that we'll get to here in a little bit. Hey, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, whatever, while I'm doing this live stream, hit me up. And if you catch it on replay and have a question about your lineups or any of these drivers, let me know. I'll try to do my best to answer any that. Well, we don't have a whole lot of data about dirt racing in the Cup Series, since this is kind of the second time we've done it. And this track is completely different, and it's running completely different, and all the drivers say it's different. So I think all the stats we had from last year, we throw those out the window. Next in line here, Tyler Reddick, 9,200. I mean, he started 4th in the first heat race and finished 1st. Practice speeds, he was fastest in the first practice on 1 lap average and 3rd over 10 laps. In the second practice, he was 8th and then 1st on his 10 lap average. Tyler Reddick is going to be really fast. Starting 3rd, he could easily get himself up there and run with Christopher Bell for potential dominator, at least early in the race. Finished 7th last year here at a dirt track. His roots all came from doing dirt racing. So next in line here, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch had a solid heat race, and he's had some solid practice. 3rd and 2nd on 1 lap speeds at 1st and 2nd practice, and then his 10 lap average was 12th and 8th in 1st and 2nd practice. So I mean, started 2nd, finished 2nd in his heat race. He's got a solid car under him. Seems to be pretty pleased with it. So I do like Kyle Busch to be potentially a finishing spot, or maybe even getting himself up to lead some laps. So starting 11th, Kyle Busch at 9,000. I don't mind having some ownership on the dial. All right, next in line here, we've got Alex Bowman. Here, let me just get all these up here real quick. Alex Bowman, 8,900, started 5th in the first heat race and ended up finishing 3rd. He's starting 8th. His car was absolute junk in the first practice. Didn't even complete a full 10 laps, a consecutive 10 laps, that is. But he was 32nd, and then in the second practice, he got some work done on his car and got it corrected, and 13th single lap and 12th for his 10 lap average. Starting 5th, finished 3rd in the heat race, starting 8th overall. I think Alex Bowman is somebody that you could definitely take a look at as ownership if you're priced in that range. Some guys down here that have a ton of place differential, but are, in my opinion, not as fast. Denny Hamlin just still scares the bejesus out of me. Other than his, in my opinion, fluky win and weird win at Richmond, he was not running well at Richmond, and his crew chief gambled and got him the win. Like I said earlier in Friday's video, if he had been any more laps than what was on the board, I think Kevin Harvick easily would have chased him down and beaten him at Richmond. So Denny Hamlin and Toyota this year are still struggling. This is a little bit different of a beast, but Denny just, I think part of it's in his head too. That and 2311's not doing as well as he's hoped, so I think he's got too much on his plate. I do have Denny Hamlin start here. Starting 34th, he's got a potential for a lot of place differentials, so keep that in mind. If you're willing to take a shot, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it, but in 8,700, I think a Ross Chastain or Kevin Harvick are better picks. Now, he was first on his single lap practice speed in the second practice, but in his heat race, he started fifth and finished ninth. He didn't really spin, but he definitely had some issues with that car. So, I don't know. Denny's a big question mark. Like I said, I'm not going to hate it for taking him, and I will have some ownership on him. I just won't have as heavy as I would have normally, even starting 34th. Ross Chastain next in line. I'll have a little bit more. He did spin in his heat race where he started second and finished ninth. So made him look much worse than he is. His practice speeds were not the best either, pretty much averaging looks like 27th on speed. If he can keep himself clean, he may end up having a decent race after all. And then his partner in crime at Trackhouse, Daniel Suarez, 8,300. He also spun. So it looks like those cars are a little bit on the loose side, or maybe way too on the tight side. That can do the same thing on dirt. But either way, Daniel Suarez starting 21st. Don't love it. He hasn't shown great speed this weekend, especially in second practice, where he was 34th on single lap and 28th on his 10 lap. He did have a great race here last year, but like I said earlier, this racetrack is absolutely completely different. Kevin Harvick, 8,100, starting 32nd. I think Kevin earlier, or sometime this weekend, was interviewed about how the track was racing and what he thought, and he goes, I'm just having a blast. I'm having a lot of fun out there. I think it's great. So I think anybody with that type of an attitude, even though you're starting 32nd, and he's going to have good power, he's going to have good crew chief, he's going to have good spotters, they're going to find fast ways to get around this track. He's going to probably find himself, if not in the top 10, definitely in the top 15, which will be great place differential. Out of all these guys on here, I think Kevin Harvick might be the best place differential to get. He's 8,100. He's cheap for Kevin Harvick standards. Now, he's not a dirt racer, but I expect him to do pretty well. He started first on his heat race and finished 8th. He just was struggling, but I think they probably easily find some better speed than that. Now, do I think Kevin Harvick's going to vie for a win or be a dominator? Absolutely not. I think Kevin Harvick will go out and have a great time, probably take care of his equipment, be there at the end, and probably get himself a top 15 or maybe even a top 10, which is huge place differential here at this track when we're only 250 laps. Dominators aren't going to be the biggest, but they will be very important because I think the guys that are fast are going to be really fast. Ben Rhodes showed that last night. Ben Rhodes is a great dirt racer and raced his backside off all night long. So I think we're going to see the same type of thing. We saw it all in the heat races. Those guys starting on the front row, whoever got the jump out early and had the lead, usually nobody was catching them, at least in a 15-lap run. So keep that in mind. I think these guys are going to run fast for the first 20, 25, 30 laps of a run, and then people are going to come together, are going to figure out faster ways around the track, and they'll catch them. And now the question is, can you pass? It's tough to pass on a dirt track, unless you just get a really good run on somebody and they slip just a little bit, but just head to head, if they're both running great lines, it's tough. I like Kevin Harvick starting 32nd. I like it a lot. Brad Keselowski, 7,900, started third in his heat race and finished fourth. His practice speeds were okay. 24th and 10th on single laps, and 16th and 22nd on 10 lap averages. I don't mind Brad, but I really like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting one spot or $200 cheaper than him, who started his heat race fifth and finished fourth. And he's starting 16th, so he is starting 2 spots better, but I think Ricky can easily find himself in a top 10 spot, maybe even vying for a top 5 spot, so decent place differential, and Ricky is really good on dirt. He finished second here at the Bristol race last year. Like I said, it's a different beast, but Ricky has shown pretty good speed all weekend. 1 lap averages, he was 6th and 9th, and then in 10 lap averages, he was 1st and 2nd, so he's really fast all weekend. I expect him to be really fast. I think he can easily vie for a top 5, at least a top 10. Gives us a little bit of place differential, but definitely gives us a really good finishing spot. So I really like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 7,700. Make sure you hit me up in the chat if you have any questions. If you're watching live, I've had a couple people viewing, but let me know you're out there. I'd love to chit chat with you a little bit and find out who you think might end up being somebody that'll make optimal lineup or win the race. Bubba Wallace, 7,500. Bubba hasn't been awful. I don't think dirt is definitely his cup of tea, but he's not doing too bad. But I think starting 22nd, I think he's a 22nd place car. I don't think it's going to get any better for Bubba. He was pretty racy in his heat race, where he started 7th and finished 6th. But once again, I think he's starting 22nd. I think he's going to finish 22nd. Maybe 25th. He might even get himself in, to high teens, but I don't think that's enough at $7,500 for me to worry about. So I don't think I'll have much of any Bubba Wallaces. Austin Dillon, 7,400. Austin will be somebody that I will definitely have a little bit of ownership on. He was fast in all of his practice speeds. Austin ran the race last night in the trucks, so he's got some experience at this new track and this new dirt. At 7,400, he started 8th in his heat race and finished 5th. 12th and 18th on single lap speeds, and then 4th and 10th on 10 lap averages. Starting 12th, I think Austin Dillon could easily find himself at top 10, maybe even getting himself up to a top 5. He's got a decent amount of momentum with him this year. He doesn't have a win, but has been running very well at the end of races. Eric Jones, who has not been running well at the end of most races, but has been running well, 7,200, and the heat race number 2 that he ran in, started 8th, finished 5th. His practice speeds in the second practice were not great. First practice was okay, and he's starting 14th. I don't think he moves up any better than that. I mean, I think, 7,200, starting 14th, I'll probably take a pass on Eric Jones this weekend. Austin Cindric, Austin does, he's a fish out of water at this point. He has grown up on pavement, doesn't have much dirt experience. I think this is going to be a big learning curve for Austin. So even starting 20th, I think he's probably at best a 25th place car. 7,100, he started 7th in his heat race but finished 6th. But he was also in a very, very tough heat race. His practice speeds were just about awful. 35th and 32nd on single laps, 27th and 32nd on 10 lap averages. Starting 20th, I don't. There is no PD upside here. There is no finishing upside here. There is no upside for Austin. Kurt Busch, 6,900, starting 13th. I think Kurt can find himself and work his way up to a top 10 finish. Started 6th in his heat race, finished 4th. His practice speeds were reasonable, 5th and 22nd in single lap, and 2nd and 25th in 10 lap average. But this track changes a lot, and Kurt did a lot of great commentating last night. If you happen to check out the truck race, he kind of really has a good understanding for how the dirt works in, where it's fast, where it's slow, where the cushion is, not really a cushion, and not to get himself up into what they call the fluff at the very, very top. That has been almost all the drivers this weekend. And you can almost see I guess we'll call it a Bristol dirt stripe, where they go up and they just touch the wall a little bit more than they should and end up with a little stripe on their right rear. So, yeah, I'm going to call it a Bristol dirt stripe. It's kind of like the Darlington stripe, where they just go up and they just rub the wall, puts a little stripe down the end of the car. But most of these cars have what looks like to be a Bristol dirt stripe already. So, Eric Almirola is next in line here. Started third, finished eighth, 6,800. I mean, Eric's a great short track racer, but he's not a great dirt track racer. He finished 36th last year, starting 31st. I mean, he's got potential to have some PD upside, and his practice speeds were pretty good. 16th and 6th on practice speeds. 10-lap averages was 11th and 3rd. So not bad. Starting 31st, yeah, I might throw a little bit of ownership on Eric starting 31st. Pretty decent PD upside potential, and I think he could easily get himself into a top teen, somewhere 17, 18, 19, which, that's 12, 13 points of PD plus, your finishing spot. So I don't mind Eric here at 6,800. There's some value. Chris Buescher starting 15th, 6,600 in the third heat race. Started 4th and finished 3rd. He's been in the teens for all of his practice speeds, starting 15th. He'd find himself into a maybe top 15. I don't think he makes it all the way to a top 10, but potentially. He does like to run that nice high line, kind of like Reddick and Larson. But, starting 15th, I think he probably best is probably going to finish 11th or 12th. It's not a bad finishing spot. I'm not sure it puts it into the optimal lineup, but could be in. If you're playing cash, I think he's a decent cash play. Michael McDowell, 6,400, started 3rd in his heat race, finished 4th. Practice speeds were okay. 29th and 14th in single lap, and 21st and 7th in 10-lap averages. So he did improve from his first practice to his second practice, and he was okay in his heat race, starting 17th. I think there's a ton of upside here, but I don't think he hurts his finishing position. So I don't dislike Michael McDowell. I just think there may be better plays down here. So let's kind of get into these. This is where I think we have the best potential. And yeah, starting, we have a 7th, a 1st, and a 6th, all in the $5,500 to $6,200 range, which are all value plays here. Ty Dillon was super fast. Started 2nd, finished 1st in heat race 4. That's with Larson. That's with Chase Elliott. Harrison Burton was in that one. I don't remember who else was in that 4th. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson. There are a lot of guys, a lot of fast guys, and Ty Dillon just got up and walked away. That's why I think whoever leads could get themselves out front early in any of these runs. I think they take off. And now, how long they can take off for, I think it's at least 15, 20, 25 laps. But if you can do that 2 or 3 times, I mean, that puts you in dominator status for the 250-lap race. So I like Ty Dillon. He's starting 7th. I think he's got great dirt experience. He's got a fast car. I mean, he was 9th and 24th in single laps, but in his 10-lap average, 7th and 19th. Like I said, in that last heat race, he flat out just blew away the field. There was nobody catching him. Now, maybe at the lap 20, 25, 30s, he may have gotten caught and passed by Chase Elliott or Larson. But, yeah, I mean, if you can go lead 20, 25 laps 3 times, 75 laps, that's gonna put you up there, especially if you can end up finishing in the top 10 and not get hurt too much on PD. I think you can be fine. Harrison Burton, 6,100, started 9th, finished 7th. His practice speeds have been miserable, 36th and 29th on single laps, and 33rd and 26th and 10 laps. Starting 24th, I don't think he improves his spot much. So I'll be staying away from Harrison Burton. Cole Custer, decent practice, decent speeds, but Cole Custer starting first. No, sorry, not taking the pole sitter here. I mean, if that pole sitter were Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Any of those guys that were real, true, hardcore dirt experts, potentially. But Cole Custer, no. I mean, he had a great heat race, starting ninth and finishing second, but there were some issues in that heat race, and I think Cole Custer has absolutely outkicked his coverage. I will be fading Cole completely. It might come back to bite me. That has come back to bite me a few times this year with other drivers, but I will be staying very far away from our pole sitter. Justin Haley here, 5,800, starting 27th. Decent PD upside potential play from here from Justin. I mean, he's not really in the fastest car. Practice speeds were about god awful. Started fourth, finished sixth. I think I'd much rather take the guy next down, Justin Haley, at 5,600. He's starting sixth. Justin's got a ton of dirt experience. Started second, finished first, just like Ty Dillon, just got up and walked away with the show in that third heat race. His practice speeds have been, for the most part, really good, especially on the short run. Fourth and eighth on single laps, and 10-lap averages were not at the best at 30th and 29th. The only potential here is Justin not doing super well and getting only at like a top 15. That's going to hurt our PD upside play. So there is a little bit of risk, but I think the upside potential between Ty Dillon and Justin Haley both giving us a lot of availability of salary cap relief definitely potentially becomes a play. So I like Justin Haley and Ty Dillon to help save some money. That way we can take some of these top guys. Just like we were talking here, Todd Gillen, a lot of experience on dirt, 5,400. I don't think he hurts you here in 23rd. He started first in his heat race and finished fifth, so that's not the best, but his practice speeds were really good. 8th and 3rd on single lap, and 10th and 6th on 10-lap averages in the first and second practice. So I think Todd Gilliland is definitely somebody to take a look at. I don't think there's too much risk at PD downside, and got some decent PD upside play here. Todd Gilliland could get himself into a top 10 situation, which would be the best finish in his Cup career. So I like Todd Gilliland a lot. He's run really well in truck race on dirt. So Todd Gilliland, 5,400. I think that's one of your value plays along with the other two we just talked about, Ty Dillon and Justin Haley. Noah Gregson doesn't have a whole lot of dirt experience. Didn't really do that well in his heat race. Was much better in his second practice speed than his first practice speed. Starting 28th. I think he finishes 28th, to be honest. I don't think there's much of a play here. I don't think there's much of a play for any of these guys below us here. Corey LaJoy, no, nothing in the practice speeds to make me go, ooh, yeah, let me take Corey LaJoy. Yeah, I think Corey LaJoy's a great guy. He's got a super podcast, and he's super funny, and I think he's great for the sport, but I just don't think it's what I'm looking for. JJ Yaley started third, finished seventh. Nothing in his practice speeds that make me think of anything exciting there. Cody Ware, 35th. His practice speeds were god awful. Finished last in his heat race. And the same thing for Josh Williams. Started sixth, finished ninth, and all his practice speeds were garbage. So we'll take a look at this last year. I mean, we had 3-ish dominators. I mean, Martin Truex Jr. had 126. That track was just completely different. It was baked completely dry in the sun. Super hard racing surface, was not slick. The tires were getting blistered. So this track's completely different. Same thing with Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez. I mean, the only two on here that I like this week would be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Tyler Reddick, and neither one of them led a lap last year. So, I mean, this really is a bad look at what we're looking at, but I look at it every week. It's part of our information that we dig into, but well, I thought I put it in here, but I didn't put my dominators and stuff, but I think we've covered those pretty well. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, make sure you hit me up in the chat. Hit that like and subscribe button. Good luck tonight. Bristol on the dirt, and I think we're in for a very exciting race. I think the conditions are going to be much better now if we can just keep Mother Nature out of the way and not let it rain on the track. That would be great. But I mean, the rain delays typically aren't very long unless it's just an absolute downpour. So hopefully keep our fingers crossed we don't have that tonight. We have a great race and the moisture stays in the track and it's not too dusty. And, thanks for watching. Hit me up in the comments, and we will see you next week for Talladega. I love super speedways. Make sure you tune in for that one. All right, thanks guys. Have a great weekend and good luck and happy Easter. Bye.
Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W, so got to be around at the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Let's go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby!
Hell yeah!
Proud of you there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day.
Great work, my man. Great work. Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
10-4, great job, guys. Excellent work, my man. Excellent work. Thank you.
Man, that's awesome. Set out with a goal we got in here, bud. Thank you very much.
Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the fastest car here, bud.
Probably killed our deal there. Just feel like I gave one away. Yeah, boy. Way to rebound. Great job.
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job.
Thank you.